Hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. How we doing? Sean, Danny, Connor, Zach, 2, Matt, Stewart, Shenanigans. Is there any good news around United right now? I'm tired of this misery. Greg, Mark, let's go. Corey, Britannic, Mike, Naveen, my dudes. How we all doing today? Liverpool got words. That's okay. That's okay. We're not in the same conversation as Liverpool right now. We have to understand it. We have to accept it. We have to realize who we are, and we have to build up the way that we always really should have committed to a long time ago, and that we never did. That we never did. I said that um, what did I say? I made a video like one of the nights recently. Um, it's shut the fuck up. Honestly, no, I'm just teasing you. Jonathan Hammond back again with 5 gifted memberships. You were over there in the View when I was doing the podcast there, and now you're back here. You're the best, man. That's amazing. Combo. If we sell Bruno, surely we buy Wharton. We have to. That's an idea, isn't it? Ronnie Dodge, hey James, what's the latest on Cunha? We close. Cunha's fine. His release clause doesn't kick in until after this weekend. Give it time. Give it time. Give it time. We'll be fine. Um, look, I said that before the game. I said one of the things that we had to recognize. All right, and this is just a somber moment as United fans that we have to realize is that like all the shit, like all the stuff, we're United, United, yada yada, you know well, we're United, like people say it all the time. You talk about transfers, you talk about teams, you talk about these kinds of things. We're United. Yes, but not really, not really anymore. um we have to build from the ground up. I think that one of the mistakes that we've been making for such a long time is trying to live off of we're United. Live off of this whole thing, that we're Manchester United, therefore it's all going to be fine. Um, but it's not, you know? It's just not. You understand? Like, it's just not. It will be fine if we do the right things and don't rely on the fact that we're united to get back where we need to be, right? Um, we need to do the things that are necessary to get us back where we need to be, and not rest on or even consider the fact that we are united. So what? The fact of the matter is, so many big clubs have fallen over the years that were big in the past. Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle. It's not about disregarding what the club stands for as a concept, but the fact of the matter is, no, 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 look, this is the positive, because I'm telling you right now, we failed. We failed because we continue to want to be united, and we continue to try to succeed on that basis. Let's get some big names, get some people in, um, get a legend in Solskjaer, and it's all gonna be okay, and everything's going to fix. They did not fall like this though. You do know where Forest and Aston Villa were not that long ago, right, user? They absolutely did. That bigger teams have fallen further than we've fallen. Not bigger than United, but big teams, huge teams. Big teams have fallen further than United are being in 16th, 17th position. I promise you that. We've been relegated ourselves, obviously. Um, but believe me, we their teams have fallen a lot further, and you can, but we can't keep counting on the past reputation of United to save us anymore. We need to do the smart things to get there, and that is the smart things. That is the smart. Brother, Forest were European champions. Forest were European champions. Know your history. Know your history. Come on, man. Um, we just need to do the smart things to get where we need to go in the future. We need to get where we need to go in the future. Da, 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 da. And that's what we're doing. Naveen, James Rio told in this podcast the team used to feed out of outrunning the opposition team. Now the players look at a big payday and insta follows your set for life. 100%, 100%. We, United brand and all of that. Everything. We need to just work. We need to work. We need to work hard and we need to build the right way. Okay, Liverpool, you can hate them all you want. They built up the right way. They did not rely on anything about history. They changed the culture. They changed the DNA. They cleared house. They did what they needed to do and did it right. Okay, um, they did it right. Um, that's what they did. And they look. Twitter was down, and they probably sacked the guy who has the Twitter login. That's why they haven't tweeted. Don't read into it much. We need to build back where we need to be the right way. Aston Villa have climbed themselves back into Champions League. Nottingham Forest practically have in one summer after being 17th. Liverpool have climbed up. Newcastle have climbed up. Teams did it right. Teams did it right. Teams built up the right way, and that's what United have to do. We have to build up the right way because there's no more fear. There's no more fear. There's no more fear left. There's no more fear left. There's no more. People aren't looking at United and saying, "Oh, well, we're scared of playing them." Nobody's afraid of that anymore. We still have a draw. We still have a draw. We still have a draw to sign players, though. We still do. That we still do, but that's because we have the huge fan base. We have a huge fan base, and we do have history, and we do have all of that. We do. None of those clubs who built right would have bought Ugarte. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Wijnaldum, Naby Keita, they signed players that weren't all stars on the way up and got as much or more criticism and found a way to make them work. I'll again talk about Jordan Henderson and James Milner and how they were viewed as well. But look, we got to build up the right way, and we can. And there's a lot going on. First and foremost, let's talk about Alejandro Garnacho. And I'm here. I'm here. I'm here for my I told you so's. I'm here for my this guy is crap. His attitude is crap. His application is crap. His ego is crap. This is not a player who should be in this dressing room. When you're looking for the culture, when you're looking for the rot, there it is. I'm not saying he's the only one. I don't care about that. I'm not saying he's the only one. I'm not blaming him for United being the way that he is, but that is a player. That is a player. That is a player who represents the nasty ego selfishness in this dressing room that it is me before the team. And United must sell him. They must sell him. Look at the story here we had from Moy Lorenz and Rob Dawson. Player and representatives not happy with his reduced role in the Europa final or how it was handled. Sure, whatever. I've told you for months, for years, every single time Alejandro Garnacho gets benched, he fucking looks for a move. He looks where he's going to go. He looks what he's going to do next. And I've been telling people that, but they turn a blind eye to it. Now you have to ask yourself a question. Why were so many people running so much PR for him on Twitter? Why were so many people running so much PR for him and denying things that were completely true? That were completely true. Why? You think that's an accident? Because there are people in this fan base that are working against the team. And they run PR for players and people just on the basis of personal connections. And that is the reality of it. And they refuse to criticize them. And they refuse to call out the behaviors. And they hide and they cover it up. And they don't even report on it when it's true. I've told you the truth. And even players I love, like Marcus Rashford, I've told you it's okay if he goes for the reason that he wasn't happy. The reason that things were not here. Things were not good together. Okay? But this is the truth. This is the truth. Okay, he's been looking to get out for 2 years. It's not about Ruben Amorim. I called it out under Ten Hag, who I did not like when he was liking tweets against Ten Hag, when he was, when he was causing problems like that. I called it out then. I don't care who the manager is or who the player is. You can't be doing that kind of stuff. You just cannot. It's not a surprise. What is shocking to me is how it's been allowed to go on for so long. And I think that people were fooled. I think that people were fooled, on this. We had a good discussion this morning because on the View, because KG, someone who really likes. You don't have to take my word on everything, but I'm sure of this. I don't do that. But I had a good discussion about this for this morning with KG, because KG didn't want to sell Garnacho a while ago, and I always accept people with different opinions as well, and all of that. But he said, look, I can see it. When Rashford and Garnacho were left out by Ruben Amorim ages ago, um, then he knew it then, and it was like when someone pretends to be on the same to work to do the right thing, to be good for a short time, and then it all caves back in as soon as they run into any kind of opposition. This shit cannot be allowed, and it cannot be tolerated by the fan base, because it is worse than what Sancho did. It is worse than what Rashford did. It's worse than what Anthony did. It's worse than well, I'm talking about football wise. It's worse than what a lot of players have been run out of this club for, and it should not be tolerated. It should not be tolerated. People cannot back off from criticizing these types of things, because this will kill our club. You cannot have 20-year-olds that are sitting there making demands when they're not that kind of player. And I worry about it, because you think about that culture and you think about Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo is a player. I'm not saying Kobbie Mainoo is doing this. I'm not saying any of that. But Kobbie Mainoo is 20 years old. Okay? Kobbie Mainoo is 20 years old. What does it say when you allow a culture of players saying, I'm 20, I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm 21, I'm not performing yet, but I'm making demands at Manchester United you got to play the way I want. The system has to be how I want. The role has to be how I want. The minutes have to be how I want. When you allow that, what does that tell everybody else growing up Manchester United? What can they demand, and what precedent does it set? We cannot allow these things to happen. We can't. You can't allow these things to happen. You absolutely cannot. They have to. They have to deal with this. Okay. You have to deal with this. No matter what, that has to be done. I just saw Gary Neville got banned by Nottingham Forest. I'd like to see United do a bit more than that. Um, I'd like to see United do a bit more banning people from there. Uh, so yeah, we cannot allow this anymore. Look, and yeah, look, Amram's first instinct was probably right. And I told him, stick with your first instinct. Not I told him, but I said he should stick with his first instinct. I didn't tell him that. I promise you, I did not tell him that. He should stick with his first instinct, his first measure of a person. And look, and the problem is that this situation created a selection problem for him in the final. Because this issue came up last week. I can tell you that for sure, that there was an issue last week about this. And that's why he ended up not selecting him for the final, was a part of that. These concerns over attitude, concerns over conversations that were had, things like that. That's why he wasn't selected. So, I think that Amorim made mistakes in the final, but it was a situation created previously. It was a situation created where there was a selection problem, because it's either cave into a player making their demands, throwing a fit, having these issues and attitude problems, and getting real upset, um or you have to have a selection concern. Yeah, it was why he wasn't in the Chelsea team. That it was that the reason. Look, pre-Chelsea, it was brought up. Okay, pre-Chelsea, the team, the selection, everybody kind of knew Chelsea. Everybody's getting a chance to prove whether they should be in the final or not, and the issue came up right there. Look, I promise you, if I was speaking to Amorim, he wouldn't have dropped Ugarte. I'll tell you that much, okay? If I was speaking to him, then he wouldn't have made that stupid mistake. I want to go back because I do want to discuss this point. That James Jonathan Hammond, you said Bruno leaves. What do we look like next year? Yeah, that's a good question. And we'll get to Bruno in just a second because I think we need to have an honest and serious discussion about Bruno. Not I'm not going to talk about he's shit, this, that. I'm not going to do any of that business with Bruno, okay? But we are going to talk about it, and I really, really want to know. I really, really want to know. Um, I do. I really, really want to know. Um, I want to know. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know what everybody's thoughts are because I am 50-50. I am really 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 50-50 on whether this happens now, whether he leaves, especially for the money that is being brought up. But look, what I'm all for and what needs to happen in my opinion without any debate at all, any even slight discussion, is we have to clean house out of anybody that isn't all in on this club right now. Okay. And I do think this will be relevant to Bruno as well because it's kind of when it's up to him. Um, we have to clean house. We have to. We've got to clean house. We cannot continue to build a team fundamentally around players that are not committed to being here. Um, and all of that. And so, the Garnacho one is a big one. There's other players that should leave. We need to build from the ground up. No shortcuts. No shortcuts. Buy the right players. Buy the future. Buy what we're going to be playing with over the next 2 or 3 years. Now that we've got no Europe, no Champions League, that's the way that it needs to go. Seller release list: Victor Lindelof, Johnny Evans, Christian Eriksen, Rasmus Højlund, Altai Bayindir, Tyrell Malacia, Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, Daniel Gore, Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Ethan Wheatley, Jadon Sancho. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least that's what's got to go. Um, yeah. I don't think we'll get Osimhen, kind of regardless. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a serious question, but this is the direction of travel that we're going. Couple things I want to mention, and then we'll talk about all these different stories that are coming out and what's going to happen next. Um, um, yeah. So one thing is very very certain. In the discussions that they've had, look, what I'll tell you is this: in discussions between Ruben Amorim, Wilcox, Omar, and the Ineos leadership, which is really just United's board now, they spoke about what the problems were this season. They've had discussions about the data. They've went through everything and looked at their assessments of it. And their conclusions essentially are very, very clear. They firmly and fully believe that while there's many problems within the squad as a whole, obviously it's not good enough to compete and we have a long road back. They firmly believe that far and away the most huge factor and the difference and the reason that they finished so low in the table, not the reason they didn't win the league, not the reason we're not in top 3 or 4, but the reason that we are that low in the table comes down to one thing, and that's goals. And they solidified their plans to recruit 3 forwards this summer for the senior squad. They want 3 forwards this summer because they firmly, fully believe it is all goals. Goals are the difference between having good goal scorers up front, good players in a team is the difference between in this team, just how bad it is the difference between like being in 16th and being in 6th to 8th with the same squad. And honestly, I 100% agree with them. When you look at it, just how bad our goal scoring was, how bad our scoring, our chance finishing was, how bad even the creation up front. Like, I want to show you some crazy kind of stats to me. Like when you look at it, like people talk about chance creation, right? And things like that. And they say, well, if we buy all these forwards to score, who's creating chances? The forwards, guys. The forwards create chances. Like, that's how football works. I always wonder, people go, we need more chance creation. We need more chance creation. For who? Who? People, this is my big argument about the midfield. People think it's the midfield making chances. No, it's not. It isn't. It never has been. Let's look at the list. Right? Let's look at the list. Who's the top? This is goals. Let's go to big chances. Where was it? Damn, now I lost it. I had the right thing. Let me find it. Give me a second. When you go to chances created in the league. Here we go. Hold on. Shenanigans says we drew 9 games and another 8, lost 8 by 1 goal. A semi-competent attack gets us 10 to 15 more points. Yeah. Come on, where are you? Now of course I can't find the stupid list. Here we go. Perfect. All right. Here's Stat Muse, okay? Top chances created, Mohamed Salah, Saka, Palmer, forward, played as a 10 most of the year. Forward, midfielder, there's a random one. Forward, essentially, or attacking midfielder. Like, you got to compare them to ours, right? There's 2 midfielders and the rest are forwards. So I'm counting 10s as forwards in our system as well, and wing backs too, mind you. Wing backs too. There's a wing back. There's a forward. There's a midfielder. There's a forward. There's a forward. There's a wing back. There's a midfielder. There's a forward. 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 Well, these guys are like our midfielders, yeah, in a 3. So when you look at the list overall, it's about 90% forwards and wingbacks, right? That's who's supposed to create chances. For your forwards and your wingbacks create chances. So when you're talking about anything else, oh, here we go. I finally found the thing, right? Our wingbacks are only defenders because we don't have the personnel. Here's big chances created, right? Let's go. Ready? Look at the top, 26. These are your wingers at good teams. All right, you ready? Let's look at United. Here we go. You ready for this? I clicked the wrong United. Oh, God, they're going to kill me. There's only one United. All right, ready? Look, Bruno. It's not just Rasmus Højlund's problem. All those touches, all that work, and Alejandro Garnacho's created as many as Christian Eriksen this season? Are you kidding me? So this is why I always made this argument, like when people talk about, well, Garnacho makes things happen. No. He makes shit chances happen and misses the big ones. He's 14 of 16 big chances missed, and he's created only 4. People need to be creating for themselves. People need to be making chances for themselves. That's what people need to be doing. Kobbie Mainoo's made 4 this year. At least I didn't click on the wrong Manchester. Yeah. Amad Diallo was injured half the season and he made 7. That's the difference. Diogo Dalot has made 4. Man, he has made 4. Okay, so people need to create chances for each other. We can go over to Wolves so you can see like the difference with like Cunha, right? 13, he's made for himself. 13, he's made for himself. 13. Cunha created 13 chances. That's near Bruno numbers while he's scoring 15, 16 goals. This is what players need to do. Look at the list. Like, this is an embarrassment that Strand Larsen has made 6. Ait Nouri 8. Bellegarde has made 9. This team does not make chances. It is goals. The forwards are not doing their job. Cole Palmer, 23. Here's a midfielder who's made some. 13, Enzo Fernandez. Pedro Neto, forward, 10. Nicholas Jackson, 6. Madueke, 6. Sancho, 6. Sancho's made more big chances. Okay? Like, but then you look at it as a unit, because they don't totally have a ton of forwards in there. You know, this is the reality of it. Our forwards do not make things happen. Forward, Trossard, who's mostly a sub, 13. Odegaard, 13. These guys make things happen in the Premier League. These players, you know, this is the difference. This is where I look at it and I go, what the heck is going on here? Like, um, it is that bad. It is that bad. Our forwards don't make chances. You want to go back to, like, let's look at 2022, right? This was the good season for us. Was this a good season or a bad season? This was a good season, wasn't it? Look at the difference. 32 by Bruno there, right? I mean, 7 by Casemiro, 7 by Shaw. It's insane, man. You go back and you look at it. Bruno's been doing some heavy lifting for a long time, hasn't he? But this has been a problem for a long time. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was absolutely finished the year that Oli got sacked, made more big chances. Oh man. Crazy. We keep going back. There's Bruno topping the charts again. Luke Shaw made 7. We still have been a pretty much a team that has struggled to make chances for such a long time, though. I got to tell you, like, outside of Bruno, our forwards have never been as productive as you would want them to be. This was a year that was slightly more even when Bruno joined mid-season, but man, like, when you compare these numbers to the numbers, Cunha is outproducing anything any of our forwards have done in like 5 years. You realize that? Like, that's how bad it's been. Is it true Garnacho's only assisted Rasmus once? Yes, in 2 years. In 2 years, man, one time. Can you believe it? They don't have the stats for 2008, my dude, or I would go back that far. That would be nice, though, wouldn't it? Let's see. When was the last time we won the league? I wonder if they do have it for that. Here, we can look at the dead 2013 team. I mean, Robin Van Persie, RVP, made... I clicked the wrong button, apologize, so it went the wrong way. But he made 15 himself, RVP, that season. Valencia made 10, Rooney 9, Giggs 8. You know, come on, man. Like, and these were players at the end of their careers, and they were able to do this. You to get 4, you used to go to the bottom, you know? You used to have to go to the bottom to look at players producing those kinds of numbers, you know, individually. So it's an issue. Yeah, I mean, look, it's an issue. It is. This is but that is their conclusion that, you know, again, obviously there's more to do to build the team, but that the primary problem, the reason it's so bad, is just goals. We don't score goals. We don't have players to score goals. That's why they want 3 forwards, a striker and 2 10s, and they want them in. They 100% want to make those 3 signings because they feel that it's just the attacking overhaul is the biggest difference between, you know, being really crap and being at least in the conversation. And there's other things to fix. There's no doubt about it. There's other things to fix, but there's other stuff to do. Other things that I'll say, I'm telling you that is their conclusion. Okay, that's what I'll say. That's not my opinion either. The other thing is that there have been potentially discussions. Defense is why we wouldn't go from 8th to 1st. I'm aware the defense has problems. The goalkeeper is a problem as well. There's other issues, but 16th is goals. 16th to 8th is goals. No doubt about that. The other thing that I would say is that there's been discussions, like I said, there's a bit on the ownership front in the past, but I will say is there's definitely been discussions about what ways could be done to get more money into the club this summer, but it has to be done in a way that all parties are in agreement as well, because you can't just put more money in. There has to be shares and such being sold as a part of that. But there are discussions about um, how they could get some more money into the club this summer that may actually help us. But until that's done, until they've actually agreed on how they could do something, I don't know. We'll see. Um, but they are discussing it, and I think that that would be helpful. I mean, if there's a way where they can sell, if there's shares that can be sold, and then some debt can be paid down, obviously, does that help us? Yes. If even if it's just a credit card, you know what I mean? Um, that's something. So we'll see what happens if they reach an agreement to get something done on that front. But there have been discussions over it, over how to get some more money in. But again, it really is up to the Glazers at the end of it. So they have to agree on how to do it. That would work for everybody. And again, it cannot just be putting money in. You have to understand it has to go towards something directly, because we've maxed out the owner benefit. Um, so we'll see. We will see. Um, Big complaints have been made about the squad's overall attitude and athleticism. This will top the list of the attributes that they want to look at in the players that they sign this summer and who they want to leave. And by attitude, it doesn't mean like they're happy. It means their attitude towards improving, towards being better, towards the club, um, the way they talk about about themselves versus the club itself, the way they want to help the club win, to taking responsibility for it. They think too many players in a squad are settled being crap, no matter what they say or how they act. That many of them are settled into their position. They feel they've made it. They don't have striving for, they don't really care about actually doing better. That's not new. We've known that for a long time. We know there's a lot of players that could apply to potentially, but those are definitely complaints. But the other big complaint is athleticism. There was a story this morning talking about how Amorim was worried about the athleticism of the Tottenham midfield. Well, so was I. I think he overthought that instead and decided, well, shit, we cannot compete with their athleticism, so we're going to just put technical players out. Didn't work. I think that's a bit of overthinking. I think that's a bit of an error on his part. Obviously, I think it was, but they've had concerns over the athleticism and physicality of the team for quite a while. That has been highlighted, but it is a massive focus from Ruben Amorim on the players he wants to sign. He's the only. They will not buy players that they do not feel are meeting the level of athleticism and physicality. Um, the owners and everybody involved are very sure in their belief of Ruben Amorim. He's not under excess pressure to start next season. He's not like 3 bad games and you're sacked. There's nothing like that. They know things are crap, but they feel he's the one taking the brunt of it in trying to deal with the mistakes and all the issues that haven't been dealt with yet. Basically, that he's actually trying to fix them all. There's a lot of managers they feel who they would hire, who they would bring in, and they would just say, this team isn't good enough. What are you going to do to fix it? And kind of leave it at that, right? And then just say, well, not my job. My job is to coach the team that's in front of me, and all of that. They've been somewhat surprised by, one, his personality, but they're more impressed through the season by his willingness to be responsible for all of the club and what's happening, not just his piece of it, and not just, to say, well, give me better players and I'll coach them, but to really look at it and identify, all of the problems, to take responsibility for everything that's happened, and everything that is going on at the club at this point. Because there's a lot of people who won't, and there's a lot of people who wouldn't. And there's a lot of managers they spoke to last summer when they were looking at Erik ten Hag leaving, who said, I don't want the job because the squad's no good and there's not enough money. And that's the other side of the silly debates over managers. Is United got turned down by a number of managers last summer. They got turned down by a number of managers in the lead up to last summer, because a lot of managers come into situation and want to see and want things to be all set and perfect for them. United aren't in a situation where they can do that. They need somebody who is willing to suffer the rebuild. That's not something everybody is willing to do. They need a manager who's willing to sit and take hits to his reputation and everything, and that's not something a lot of managers are willing to do. Thomas Tuchel didn't want to do it. A lot of people didn't want to do it. Thomas Tuchel didn't select Adam Wharton, by the way, for all the loving. Seemingly, he left the best English midfielder on the out. So that's an interesting one for all the loving over him. Maybe his ideas over the midfield aren't that much different. De Zerbi's a wrong one. I'm glad we stayed away from him, because that is a I'm glad we didn't hire him. But there's a lot of managers who are not willing to do that. There's a lot of managers who aren't willing to do what they wanted. He got a concussion. Well, he said he's a development player, I think. But yeah, regardless, that is one of the main reasons as well that has to be accepted. There's not a lot of people who are willing to do this. There's not a lot of people who are willing to do what it takes at United, as we've seen, without throwing a fit, without flying off the handle, without doing any of that. It's just the case. I mean, there's a lot of great managers who only walked in to situations that were perfectly set up for them, and that's all that they wanted to do. Look, Xabi Alonso wouldn't have joined United. That was something that we looked at. I don't know. They talked to a lot of other managers, and it was not that simple to just get somebody, given the money, given the finances, and given the resources that we have. And this summer is going to be no different. But Ruben Amorim is willing to do it. When he, I don't care if it's a nonsense take on Tuchel. That's just shit talk. When Ruben Amorim joined Sporting, I think they turned over 27 players in there over the course of the first 18 months or something like that, and that's pretty normal. That's something that they essentially need from now. That's something that they need from at the moment. Is that level of turnover, that level of change, that level of somebody being willing to go through all of that. A lot of managers don't want to build the squad; they want to improve and extract performance. Correct. And like I said, there are two different jobs people are being hired for. If they wanted a manager who was going to extract performance, then they could have got somebody else. But they told them when they were looking to hire him before that they're here for the rebuild. They're here for the rebuild. And so the job on the hire was to build the club, not just take 25 players and say, hey, we need to do this. I think the overthinking with the 3-4-3 is just overthinking. It's just overthinking. Madrid just went to a 3-4-3 manager who's going to play 3-4-3 at their club. They've never done that in their life, but it's not the point, because formations are just formations. But yeah, so regardless of everything, this is where we are at, and this is their belief, and so they need to follow that up by being really, really good, being really, really good in the market, and getting the right players coming in. Now, on top of that, so what does that mean? All right. Where are we going from here? On the striker front, obviously we still have Cunha lined up. On the striker front, we are still looking at our targets. So when we spoke about Gyokeres the other day, I said he might kind of fall to us, and we may think we may still have a chance to do something with that. Arsenal are going for Benjamin Šeško, it seems like, pretty strongly. Liverpool are signing Florian Wirtz. Chelsea are still fully in the race for Liam Delap. You're seeing talk today from Sky Sports and others saying that maybe Delap doesn't want us now because we might not have gotten into Champions League. I warned a little bit about that it was like that there was hints about that there was some indications of that. I don't know if that's true or not fully yet, but even Ornstein said it might depend on Champions League. So if you think about that all in a funny way, where else can Victor Gyokeres go if not Manchester United? If Liverpool's off the table, PSG aren't in for him now, Arsenal are going for Šeško, and Chelsea get Delap, where's he going to go? If he wants to leave, then he can join United and help us get back there. Chelsea also want Ekitike, so we'll see on that. I like Amorim and want him to succeed, but let's be honest, finishing 17th and losing a cup to Spurs, how can anyone recover from that? We've recovered from worse. I mean, it is what it is. We've recovered from worse. So yeah, Barcelona, I don't know. I don't think that they're in for him, and I think he wants to go to the Premier League. I think that's his desire to go for the Premier League. But here's the point on Gyokeres. We still might try for him. Well, not might. We still want to see what he can do. And we won't know until after the cup final. He's not going to respond to anybody. His people and him are not responding to any offers, interest, or or anything that would indicate where he's going to go next until after their final on Sunday. So we won't know. We won't know what happens next until that point in time with him. We're still interested in Delap, obviously. We are still interested in Mateta, depending on the price. Obviously, we don't want to pay 60 million for Mateta. But we're still interested in some of these players. And I would still lean towards us getting Delap given the situation, but we will see now. It's still up in the air. We're still trying. We're still going for it. And we'll find out after the weekend if we can make something happen. Either way, we want to get three forwards in this summer. That is the primary thing. In addition to that, they absolutely want to add more athleticism, more physicality, more legs to the midfield. We've talked about Ederson in the past as being an option. Again, Phil mentioned that they might go for him. He does fit exactly what they would want in there. But those are the three. And obviously it's going to take sales. Garnacho will almost surely be sold. The other sales that we can make can add a lot. If we just did Garnacho, Sancho, Rashford, and Antony, then we could probably get Cunha. I mean, money-wise, we could spend 180 to 200 million. So, that's pretty big. That is pretty big. With regards to like Rasmus Højlund and some of these players, you've got to understand, like, in terms of selling them, if we can somehow move them on, it's better than it seems, because we have all this amount of money that is going towards them every year from an amortization standpoint. If they go, even if we make zero, if we can write that amortization off moving forward, then we'll be in good shape. Then it opens up the door to buying more players. My three that I would buy would be probably Cunha, Gyokeres, and Mastantuono. For Højlund, he's on low wages. If we can move him for 30 million, I think that's what's named, right? 30 million. So if you do the math on it, we paid 72. We still owe 43. He's costing us 14.4 million a year. If you can sell him for 30, you take a 14 million loss, but you save on the amortization. You essentially break even, and you move him on, and you save on his wages. They're willing to do that. They're willing to do that. So, we're able to run a smaller squad. That's the other factor. We are able to run a smaller squad. We are able to um, do that. A rebuild can be no. I don't think a rebuild has to be when you have the money that United have. A rebuild doesn't mean you have to be out of Europe for multiple years. Actually, a rebuild simply means you can run a smaller squad for a year. Get rid of your high earners, buy the guys who are going to be good for 5+ years at your club, 5 years at your club, and um, take a step forward. And then the next year you can add to that. So yeah, we will see, but stop it. Stop. I need this. We don't have to fast track a rebuild. The where we've messed up on fast tracking a rebuild. So let's think about that for a minute. What did we do? We brought in Varane, 30 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo. That was trying to fast track, the rebuild. While we were in Europe, you know. Um, but you look at the window before that, it was also disastrous. So I don't know. We've tried to fast track the rebuild, but at the same time, we've never actually done it. We've never actually done anything. Um, we've never actually done anything to commit to a rebuild, in the past. And sometimes that means letting people go. Letting people go, having a smaller squad, having a smaller team. I'll get to Bruno, guys, in a second. I will get to Bruno in a second, okay? And the money and what it means, okay? I will get to Bruno because it's sort of the last major point on this. Because look, we've already kind of discussed all of this, of where we're at and what we can do, but making it very, very certain we want to sell. We're gonna sell. We want 3 forwards. We want athletes. We want better players coming in, and all of that, in that respect. And we want 3 forwards. And their feeling is that just having better forwards will push us back into Europe. And then we have to continue to build up the rest of the squad. They want a midfielder, they want a goalkeeper, and they want center backs probably next year. The big question, the big, huge now debate on this is Bruno, right? Because what do you do with this? Is Bruno going to be the guy 2 years from now when we're good? 3 years from now when we're good? Because when Bruno plays, you kind of have to build around him, right? You kind of have to build around him. But can you? Should you? For the long term, when you're not going to be here next year? Realize you don't have to spend even all your money in one summer. You know what I mean? Mark, thank you for joining, buddy. You don't have to sell all. You don't have to even spend all the money that you potentially have in one summer. You can build up your core and have the money for later when you can attract better players and star players and all of that. But you have to think like, what does the money do for us, and what does he do for us? If United bring in 100 million from Bruno, right? And that's what this says here. 100 million to United, 200 million to Bruno. United don't want to sell, but under pressure after the loss, right? We didn't want to sell. We know that. They wanted to keep Bruno, but now that we've lost, we're not in Europe. Then what happens? What do you mean? I hear you on the leadership argument, but let's pause for a second. We got 16th and we just lost the final. I agree Bruno's a good leader, but And I like Bruno, and I agree that he's the right type of person, but like it's we need so much. You have to consider it. You have to consider it because that's not saving us anymore. It's not saving us anymore. Does Arsenal have, when they rebuilt, did they have a leader like Bruno to get back into top 4 consistently? I don't know. Did City? I don't know. Bruno's exit from United is staged. He will leave 72 hours to decide to make sure he's able to say bye at the next game. His interview after the game was leaving help the club financially. Well, Stephen, maybe you're right. You might be right. 72 hours. It's Friday. Monday morning. We will know. Does Bruno want to leave or not? Leadership is marginal gains. We were 16th. I agree. And it's not like there's not other and then they sold him, Shaka. But I agree. But look, it's not like you can't get other players with good attitudes. There's not only one in the world. Does it make it even more clear that we need to dump anybody who doesn't have a good attitude? Yes. We got to get the guys with a bad attitude absolutely as far away from this club as possible. Okay? But look, times change. It's really hard. I got to tell you, it's really hard. Because it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision. And you have to understand it for the right reasons. Like, look, we're not going to have Bruno when we become good again if we're good again consistently. Like, you just let's just recognize that for a second, okay? Bruno Fernandes will not be the same Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Yeah. Bruno Fernandes will not be the same Bruno in a couple of years. He just won't. And the problem is Bruno as a position, as a player is the type of guy you kind of have to build with, Like imagine if I kind of look at like De Bruyne, right? In a way. City had a much better team around De Bruyne. They still struggled with his fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you not noticed? I've noticed that personally, that City have still struggled with the fall off of Kevin De Bruyne. In the last couple of years, aside from the Rodri injury and stuff like that, they have still struggled. Even City, with all of their team, they have still struggled with some of the fall off of Kevin De Bruyne. To me, that has been pretty obvious. They haven't had the same. They haven't had the same because you're talking about a player who is so influential when you're talking about this type of player. They have such a big impact on the team, and you pretty much have to build around them. You pretty much have to run your whole offense through them. They're like your point guard in offense. And even our final, a big mistake that was made was kind of based on this, was that we kind of ran everything through Bruno and then moved him deep to accommodate different things so we could keep running everything through Bruno, and we screwed up. Because then you're always building around an individual when the net benefit to the whole team could be higher. If we were in a situation where we could spend enough money to add more big guys around him, and we were ready to do so in the next year or two, that would be different. But in 3 years, how good will Bruno be? I don't know. He'll be 31 going into next season. I mean, you look at the players and the ages that kind of fall off with the amount of minutes that he's played and stuff. I don't know, man. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. Um, when we didn't have Bruno, we tried Pereira. Yeah, I agree. We had McFred and Pereira and such, right? But um, we didn't have Bruno during Jose, and we were fine. Maybe better at certain points. Um, we'll see. The thing about it is that like we've done this before. You don't have to have a Bruno. Tons of teams don't have Bruno and they win games. You know, like we get so sentimental about it and so attached to it, and the idea that his player is irreplaceable. Nobody's irreplaceable in football. You know, we lost Ronaldo. We I know we had Pogba. I know, but why can't we get another one? I flipped a coin 5 times, 3 on sell, 2 on keep must be accurate. But why can't we get more? Like we've lost players so much, you know? But Bruno's nothing like Modric, bikers. He's nothing like him. Skill set wise, he's not even in the same stratosphere as a player. They're totally different. Totally different. Bruno's skill set is not Modric's skill set at all. They're very, very different, players. Like at all. They're really, really different. But if you get 100 million for him, 120 million for him, what could you do? Well, you can already get your Cunha, your Delap or Gyokeres, and your Mbumo or somebody similar with the money you've already got. Well, if you could go get, two midfielders this summer, two top midfielders this summer, and a new keeper, isn't that the right thing to do in a rebuild? Isn't that the right thing to do in a rebuild? Shouldn't we do that? Um, shouldn't we go that way? Because otherwise we're always going to be running through Bruno Fernandes for our whole offense. And let's just note one thing that is a bit funky, and this is why I had some concerns over how Bruno would fit under Ruben Amorim as well, and he's changed his game to match it. But people talk about why we don't create through our wingback still, even though we're in a back three situation. Um, I mean, one of the reasons we don't create through the wingbacks is because we don't play through the wingbacks like we're supposed to in the system. If you watch the game on the final again when we're trying to push for a goal, what often happens? What should you be doing against a low block? Playing out wide, making the extra man runs through the lines for cutbacks, for crosses in, for things like that from the wide areas. How do we try to break down the box? Because everything runs through Bruno. He's picking up the ball here, he's picking up the ball there, he's quarterbacking it around the top of the box, but that doesn't actually match our system. We should be doing a lot more by way of cutbacks, by way of playing wide and things like that for the system. We should be doing that. Tottenham score their goals by getting it through the wide areas and crossing it in ahead of time, and that's how they beat us. We never do it. We do it randomly in these weird random circumstances, but most of the time everything's coming through the middle. Um, um, so that's a concern for me. That's a concern for me how we do it that way. Um, and I think that, yeah, we're worse when Bruno doesn't play, no doubt, because we don't have good players in the team. But if we could take 100 million and sell and buy a team, I think we would be better in the immediate and the long term. And I think they're considering it, and I think he's considering it. And I don't know the answer, man. I do not know the answer because they did not want to sell him. But the money there, his potential openness to going, the whole situation, I think it's going to be considered. Let's poll. Um, Should we let Bruno go for 100 million plus? If it's 100 million or more, should we let Bruno go? What my sources say is that we didn't want to let him go, and that he wanted to stay. However, with how the season has ended, not just the final, but the last little bit, and the money that's on offer and the reality of the situation, it's being rethought. It's being considered. Glazers pulling a Joe Biden level color up on their ownership. Nobody remembers them. It's being considered. So that's what I would say. It is being considered because of the potential amount of money on offer. It is now. It was not being considered before. It's being considered now. And it's some of and they're gonna want him to tell them, does he want it or not? 200 votes in. That's probably enough to have a consensus here. 83. I did not expect it to be that high. I'm not gonna lie to you. 83% yes. Wow. Okay. I do think it's the right thing to do in a rebuild. Get all the high earners off. Get everybody like that of value to go that won't be here for in the next 5 years, and then rebuild. Jason, do you trust the owners to use the money well? Yeah, I think our recruitment's been better than I think the recruitment's been better than people are going on about. I mean, Lenny Yoro is an amazing signing, top player. I think Dorgu is really good for the money and will become a good player. I really like Xerxes. I really like Mazraoui. I think Delict and Ugarte will turn into fine squad players. Maybe we paid a little bit too much, but I think we got good players in there and some top players. And if we have more money to do it, I think we'll do even better. All right. I'm going to end it here. I've got to go to my kid's graduation. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week, end of the school year. I've got to go to my kid's graduation. So, interesting way to end it. United are considering it. They want 3 forwards this summer. This would fund the midfield, the multiple midfield building that they want, the goalkeeper that they want, a potential center back that they want as well. So it's a big consideration because it will allow us to stretch so much further in this year towards the long term rebuild and all of that. So we'll see. But the truth is, again, just summarizing some of the actual info, they want 3 forwards. They think goals are by far and away the biggest problem. They intend to solve it this summer. There is a potential that we will try for Gyokeres, but we won't find out until after Sunday because he doesn't want to respond to anybody till then. And they are having to think about this Bruno offer now, and so is he. So we will find out soon. Otherwise, everybody we've spoken about is for sale on their way out, and they're willing to take even cut price deals, taking small losses where it would balance with the amortizations to raise as much money as possible. They're willing to go let 10 leave and sign 5 to make the squad smaller. So now we'll find out what happens in the next few days. Okay? Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. See you later. Enjoy the rest of